They say time heals everything. Cute theory. Tell that to the man who's been healing by checking her profile like it's a stock market graph. Every story, every photo, every shadow of what used to be. Here's the truth. If you think the right words will bring her back, you've already lost. Because she doesn't come back for what you say. She comes back for who you become in silence. This isn't about tricks or tactics. It's about psychology. It's about energy. It's about power. When she left, she didn't walk away from love. She walked away from her reflection in your calm. And when that reflection disappears, the mind starts searching for what once steadied it. Welcome to Stoicism Mastermind. To our legendary subscribers, you are the reason this brotherhood breathes. Thank you for walking this path with us. May you and your loved ones stay safe, strong, and surrounded by peace. If you're new here, like, subscribe, and share, because around here we're more than a channel. We're a movement, one family, one mindset. We study the wisdom schools forgot to teach, to forge men who are unshakable. Law number 1, stop explaining, start vanishing. When most men get left, they panic. They write paragraphs, speeches, confessions. Thinking logic can seduce emotion. But the moment you start explaining your worth, it drops. She doesn't need your words, she needs your absence. Because silence interrupts her expectations. She expected tears, closure, a final text. Instead, nothing. You don't disappear to punish, you disappear to preserve. You stop proving your value and start living it. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one that's the play. No explanations, no overthinking, just discipline. When you vanish with composure, you create a void. And the void forces her to feel. It turns, "Why isn't he texting?" into, "Why did I leave?" You don't beg for clarity, you become clarity. You don't chase, you center. Because stillness is the loudest language a man can speak. If this feels foreign, if doing less feels unnatural, go watch Do Less, Win More. That message ties directly to this law. You'll see how restraint isn't weakness, it's leverage. So stop explaining, stop defending, vanish with dignity, because the moment you do, the silence becomes her teacher. And the man she thought she understood becomes the man she can't forget. Law number 2, create the void. That echoes. Most men are terrified of distance. They treat silence like death, as if space between messages means the story is over. But space doesn't kill connection. It reveals it. When you pull your energy away, you create a void. And that void has gravity. It forces her to feel the difference between presence and absence, between noise and peace. Because your attention was a rhythm in her life, a heartbeat she didn't even notice until it stopped. Now the notifications are gone. No good morning, no reassurance, no emotional background music. Just silence. And silence echoes. At first, she'll distract herself. Go out, post stories. Pretend she's fine, but every distraction fades, and the quiet always returns. That's when the echo hits. It's your absence, bouncing back in her mind like sound in an empty hall. And suddenly, she starts replaying every version of you she took for granted. That's why you must stay silent long enough for the echo to reach her. Most men ruin this law by panicking too early. They can't handle the uncertainty. They text, they comment, they watch her stories. But every time you break the silence, you restart her forgetting process. You don't owe her reminders. You owe yourself recovery. Because the man who holds his ground long enough to let the void speak for him becomes unforgettable. Here's the psychology behind it. A woman's mind is drawn to what's missing. It's how emotional curiosity works. She doesn't crave presence. She craves the mystery that follows absence. So don't chase her through words. Make her chase your calm. Make her chase the energy she can't find anywhere else. Because when you stop trying to convince her, you make her confront the only truth left, the loss of your presence. When you create that space, don't fill it with noise, fill it with discipline. Read, train, move, build. The more solid you become, the more the silence sharpens your edges. Your absence should evolve you, not empty you. And if you're struggling to stay quiet, if that urge to reach out starts crawling up your spine, go watch Stop Talking. That message will ground you. It's a reminder that silence isn't passivity, it's precision. It shows you how stillness commands more power than words ever could. Because when you stop talking, people start listening. And when you stop showing up, that's when she starts feeling your presence again. Not through what you say, but through everything you've stopped saying. So let the void echo, brother. Let her feel the space you left behind, because that's not distance. That's gravity. Law number 3. Evolve into the man she thought you couldn't be. When she walked away, she told herself a story. He'll chase. He'll break. He'll wait for me. And maybe for a moment she was right. But stories don't age well when reality starts to change. Because the man she remembers isn't the man you're becoming. She thought leaving would make you weaker, but all it did was remove the distraction that kept you from remembering who you are. Now, she's expecting posts about heartbreak. Instead, she sees discipline. She expects sadness. Instead, she sees strength. You didn't disappear to wallow. You disappeared to build. Every morning you wake up earlier. Every rep, every chapter, every moment of self-control is a quiet declaration. I'm not who I was. You start eating cleaner, thinking sharper, moving with intent. And slowly, everything about you begins to harden. Not in bitterness, but in purpose. Your posture changes. Your voice deepens. Your presence starts to feel like weight. Grounded, deliberate, undeniable. And here's the paradox. She won't notice right away. But one day she'll hear your name, see your photo, or stumble across a post. And something inside her will tighten. Not out of nostalgia, but out of realization. She'll see what she left, and for the first time, she'll understand what she truly lost. Not a man desperate for her return, but a man she'll never find again in the same form. That's the power of evolution. It rewrites the narrative she created in her head. Because you're no longer chasing her, you're chasing mastery. And that's a race no one can run beside you. When she left, she thought you'd fall. But instead, you rose. You built new standards, not new excuses. And now, the silence between you isn't emptiness. It's contrast. You've become living proof that pain can either destroy a man or refine him. You chose refinement. And if you're ready to sharpen that edge even more, not just emotionally, but completely, watch Master Your Mouth, Mood, Money, and Mind. That message ties perfectly to this stage of your evolution. Because a man who can control those 4 things doesn't chase validation, he creates value. He doesn't react. He reigns. That's the secret, brother. She doesn't come back for comfort. She comes back for contrast. The moment she sees that she can't affect your peace anymore, that her name doesn't change your pulse, that's when the attraction reawakens. But by then, something else happens. You've outgrown the need for her return, and that's the true win, not her coming back, but you becoming the kind of man she no longer deserves. Law number 4. Let stillness be louder than emotion. Most men think strength means saying more, showing more, proving more, but power doesn't live in performance. It lives in restraint. Stillness isn't emptiness, it's focus, sharpened down to silence. It's the art of feeling everything and reacting to nothing. Because the moment you react, you lose control of the frame, and once you lose the frame, you lose the pull. When she pulls away, you don't chase, you don't question, you don't analyze every detail like a detective of lost emotions. You let the silence breathe. Stillness is not pretending to be calm. It's becoming calm. It's when you feel the anger, the ache, the urge to explain, but you don't let it guide your hand. You let the storm pass before you move, because the man who reacts first always loses leverage. The man who holds still, he becomes gravity. When she tests you, through silence, through subtle provocations, through emotional bait, your power is in staying unmoved. You don't flinch, you don't fold. Because what you're defending isn't pride, it's peace. And here's the paradox most men miss. Stillness isn't quiet, it's deafening. It gets under the skin, into her thoughts, into the small hours of the night when she can't stop replaying how you stayed calm while she lost control. That image will haunt her far longer than any text ever could. Because women don't obsess over men who explain themselves. They obsess over men they can't read. And stillness turns you into that mystery. You become the unanswered question, the calm after her storm, the silence that says everything words can't. That's why in every argument, every test, every moment of emotional chaos, you stay rooted. You let stillness do the talking. Because emotion fades, but composure echoes. And that's what separates the ordinary from the Stoic. The ability to feel deeply, but act deliberately. If you ever catch yourself about to overreact, remember this. You don't need to fill silence. You need to master it. So stop trying to prove you've moved on. Show it through stillness. Show it through control. Show it through the way your peace no longer bends for anyone, because when she feels that energy, that you're not angry, not needy, not reactive, you stop being her memory and start becoming her lesson. Law number 5. Make her regret. Your absence, not miss your messages. Most men want to be missed, but missing is fleeting. It's emotional. Regret. Regret is permanent. You don't want her to think about you when she's bored. You want her to feel you when she's alone. Not because of guilt, but because your absence reveals the truth she couldn't see when you were present. She won't miss your words. She'll miss your stability. She'll miss the way your presence quieted her chaos. Because now, without it, she's surrounded by noise. People talking, distractions flashing, everything loud, but nothing real. When you were there, she felt calm but didn't understand why. Now that you're gone, she feels the difference, and that difference stings. That's the beauty of silence done right. It doesn't beg to be noticed. It forces reflection, and reflection turns confusion into clarity, clarity into awareness, and awareness into regret. But here's where most men fail. They try to rush the process. They break the silence too soon. They reach out to check in, to see how she's doing. But every time you break the silence, you save her from her own realization. And the moment you save her, she stops needing you. So let her live with it. Let her talk to other men and feel nothing. Let her scroll through her messages and see your name sitting there like a ghost she can't delete. Let her experience the absence of your energy, because that's when regret starts to bloom. She doesn't regret losing you when you're still around. She regrets it when your presence becomes a memory she can't recreate. You didn't chase. You didn't argue. You simply became quiet. And that silence now carries more weight than any words ever could. It's the same principle the Stoics lived by. The idea that power isn't shown, it's sensed. When you act from peace instead of panic, you change the entire dynamic. You go from the man who cared too much to the man she underestimated. That's when she comes back. Not for closure, but for curiosity. She needs to know how you stayed so calm, how you built so much strength out of silence. But here's the truth, brother. By then, you'll be different. You'll have grown beyond the need for her return, and that's when your power becomes complete. Because the man who doesn't need her back is the man she can never forget. And greatness doesn't beg. It doesn't chase. It doesn't explain. It simply walks away and lets silence do the talking. Law number 6. Don't close the gap. Make her cross. At every breakup creates a space. A silent gap that used to be filled with attention, affection, and familiarity. Most men panic when they feel that emptiness. They rush to close it, to fix it, to bridge it with messages, apologies, or explanations. But every time you try to close the gap, you shrink your power, because the moment you run toward her, you're confirming her belief that you can't live without her. That belief kills attraction faster than any mistake ever could. When she walks away, let her. When she stops texting, stay still. You don't chase energy that's leaving your life. You let it go so your own can return. That silence between you two, that's your weapon now. That's where the balance shifts, because silence forces her to face what she created. It makes her sit in her own decision, and that's where curiosity begins. She starts to wonder, why hasn't he said anything? Did he move on? Does he even care anymore? The longer you hold that silence, the more those questions grow roots. Because uncertainty is more powerful than attention, it lingers. Most men think space is distance. It's not. It's pressure, and pressure creates realization. She'll start to feel the void, and eventually, she'll start to fill it. Not with new people, but with memories of you. And that's when the balance flips. She'll reach out, not because she wants to talk, but because she wants to know if the door is still open. And that's where you win. Not by closing the gap, but by standing still long enough for her to cross it. When she finally comes forward, calm, curious, uncertain, don't rush to make it easy. Don't hand her comfort she hasn't earned yet. Let her feel the gravity of your composure. Because attraction isn't built on access. It's built on effort. And when you stop reaching across the distance, you force her to do something she's not used to doing. You make her earn your attention again. That's how respect is rebuilt. You don't demand it. You don't argue for it. You command it through stillness. So stop chasing her shadow, brother. You've already done enough. Now let her do the walking. You've stopped trying to convince her. Now it's her turn to convince you. Law number 7. Trust time. Not talk time is the quietest teacher and the most ruthless one. It never argues, never explains, never hurries. It just waits, while everyone else reveals themselves. When you first go silent, she doesn't feel it. She's distracted. Friends, attention, noise. But give it time, because time is undefeated when it comes to exposing truth. After a week, curiosity kicks in. After a month, confusion. And as the silence stretches, something deeper begins. Reflection. See, when you stop talking, you create room for her thoughts to echo. You give her the one thing the modern world refuses to give anyone, stillness. And in that stillness, the mind starts to wander back to what felt stable, safe, solid. That's you. The man who didn't explode. The man who didn't chase. The man who vanished, not in anger, but in peace. At first, she'll tell herself she's over it. But time keeps replaying what peace used to sound like, and it sounds a lot like your voice. That's not nostalgia. That's emotional gravity. Because peace is rare, brother, and once a woman experiences it, everything else starts to feel loud, cheap, temporary. That's why you can't break the silence. The longer it lives, the more powerful it becomes. Your absence becomes contrast. Your stillness becomes the mirror she can't avoid. And her mind starts asking the questions you wanted to ask. Only now, she's the one chasing answers. This is where most men fail. They try to rush time, to speed up reflection. But time doesn't care about your impatience. It only rewards those who trust it. Every day you stay silent, you're compounding value. Like interest on peace. You're not waiting for her. You're letting her meet the consequences of her decision. And here's the irony. The longer you say nothing, the more you say everything. Because silence is the one language that the heart still understands when words stop working. When you trust time, you stop forcing moments that aren't ready. You start allowing life to reveal what's meant for you. That's where Stoic strength comes from. Patience guided by purpose. So don't count the days, brother. Make the days count. Fill them with work, with training, with mastery. Because time will pass either way. But what you become in that time determines everything. You don't rush evolution. You let time sculpt it. So trust time, not talk. Because one reveals truth, and the other ruins it. Law number 8. Become the man who doesn't need her return. This is where the transformation happens, where the silence stops being a tactic and becomes a truth. Because at some point, the goal shifts. You no longer want her back. You want yourself back. You stop replaying the relationship and start reprogramming your life. You stop asking, will she come back? And start asking, would I even want her to, if I keep evolving like this? That question changes everything. The moment you stop needing her return, your energy flips, your frequency changes. You become harder to read, harder to reach, harder to replace, and she'll feel it. Not through messages, not through words, but through the quiet confidence of a man who's no longer chasing closure. Because here's the paradox. The less you need her, the more she feels pulled toward you. Not because she suddenly loves you again, but because women are drawn to grounded men. Men who don't orbit anyone. Men who live in command of themselves. She left because she thought she could. But when you evolve in her absence, when you start building the kind of life that doesn't depend on her presence, you don't just move on, you rise above. The Stoics said, freedom begins when you stop depending on external things for peace. That includes people. When you find peace in your own stillness, the world starts revolving around your energy instead of you revolving around someone else's emotions. You start walking differently. You speak slower. You look at people with more clarity. Because you're no longer auditioning for affection. You've remembered that you are the prize. Now your purpose drives your day. Your training becomes sacred. Your solitude becomes power. You start to understand what self-respect actually means. Not as a slogan, but as a spiritual practice. And when she comes back, because sooner or later she will, you won't be waiting with open arms. You'll be standing there in silence, evaluating if the version of her that left is even compatible with the man you've become. That's what it means to transcend attachment. You no longer need her return to feel complete, because you're already there. And that's when attraction flips forever, because the man who doesn't need anything from anyone is the man everyone wants to be near. She'll feel it, that calm, quiet confidence. The energy of a man who could have her again, but doesn't need to. That's not ego, that's enlightenment. You've stopped chasing validation. You've started embodying value. And that's why you'll never lose again. Law number 9. Let her feel the void, not the effort. Every man, after she's gone, thinks the same thought. If she could just see how much I tried. But that's the trap. Thinking effort equals value. It doesn't. Because when love ends, people don't remember how hard you tried. They remember how your presence made them feel. She doesn't miss your effort, brother. She misses your energy, your groundedness, your calm, the way you could turn chaos into clarity with a few steady words and a quiet stare. That's what she feels when you vanish. Not guilt, but absence. Not longing, but imbalance. Her world tilts slightly off-center, and that's when the mind begins to remember what the heart tried to forget. You don't make her feel that by texting. You make her feel it by not being there to text at all. By removing your energy from her daily rhythm, by letting her feel how much space you once filled. That's how the void works. It's not loud, it's haunting. It doesn't remind her with words, it reminds her with silence. And when she starts to reach back out, when she begins dropping small hints to test your reaction, you don't bite. You don't rush to reassure. Because what she's really doing isn't checking on you. She's checking if she still has access to you. And the answer must be no. Access is earned through respect, not nostalgia. Every time you respond too quickly, you relieve the tension that teaches the lesson. Every time you reappear too soon, you undo the mystery that was rebuilding your worth. So let the space breathe. Let her wonder. Let the void do the work that words never could. Because presence creates comfort, but absence creates value. The man who constantly shows up becomes routine. The man who disappears with purpose becomes unforgettable. And that's what you're doing now. You're not punishing her. You're rebalancing the energy. You're showing, not telling, that you were never the one who lost. You're reminding her that love without respect is charity and attention without effort is noise. So hold your silence. Guard your peace. And if the loneliness ever hits hard, remember this. The void she's feeling is a reflection of the one you mastered first. That's power. You can't fake that kind of composure. You earn it one quiet day at a time until your stillness becomes the lesson she can't escape. Because in the end, she won't remember what you said. She'll remember the moment she realized your silence didn't mean you were gone. It meant you had finally become untouchable. Law number 10. When she comes back, don't be the same man hubby left, and she will come back. Maybe not today, maybe not next month, but one day, when the world gets quiet enough for her thoughts to speak, she'll remember you. Not the man she left, but the energy she can't find anywhere else. That calm, that focus, that unshakable peace she once mistook for detachment. You see, she didn't fall for you by accident. She fell for how she felt when she was around you, steady, secure, safe. And now that she's surrounded by noise, your silence echoes louder than ever. So when she comes back, and she will, this is the moment where most men fail, because they react. They forget the lesson. They let old emotions take the wheel again. But not you, not anymore. You've evolved past explanation, past overthinking, past trying to prove your worth, because now your peace speaks for you. When she reaches out, you don't rush to respond. You pause, you breathe, you read her energy, not her words. Because she's not testing your love anymore. She's testing your growth. And when she sees how composed you are, how balanced your tone sounds, she'll realize something terrifying. She no longer knows you. She can't read you. She can't move you. You've outgrown the version of yourself that she knew how to control. You've stopped needing closure because you became the closure. That's when the power shifts completely. She'll feel the gravity again, the kind of calm that doesn't chase, doesn't beg, doesn't explain, because you're no longer the storm, you're the mountain that endured it. So when she comes back, brother, don't be the same man she left. Be the man who learned. Be the man who rebuilt. Be the man who no longer needs her return to feel whole. Because that's what true Stoic strength is. Not coldness, but clarity. Not revenge, but rebirth. If this message hit home, if it reminded you that power isn't about control but composure, then share this with a brother who needs it. Drop a comment below. Hit the like button. Subscribe to join the Stoicism Mastermind Brotherhood, where we study the art of stillness, discipline, and self-mastery. Because here, we don't chase approval. We build men of purpose. Now that you've mastered silence, take the next step. Watch The Shocking Cost of Goodness, Stoicism, Hidden Truth. It's the perfect continuation of this journey, and it'll show you why being too kind, too giving, and too available can quietly destroy a man's peace. Because goodness without boundaries isn't virtue, it's vulnerability, and the man who learns that truth becomes unstoppable.